Hello, everybody, and welcome to Feature Friday. Fine. Oh gosh, what are we on? We are on 42, that's what I thought. So we've got a few people watching, good old Polarium and whatnot. So, today, I have some painful things to show you, and I have some painful things to say to you. But we'll get to that. First off, we are officially back in business after that laptop trouble. It was a bit of a pain to have to rebuild all of the engine code, but as you can see, I've got everything up and running again. And we are going to open level 3-1. Now, as I'm opening this level, I'm going to, as I'm opening this level, I want you to see if you can figure out what is it that I'm trying to point out here. So while this level loads, I'm trying to emphasize something here. What am I emphasizing? And you have several seconds to figure this out, because it's going to take a little bit. So what is it that I'm trying to point out about what's happening on screen right now? You can just answer in the chat or something, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say. It's just that there's one particular thing about the game that I want to make sure make sure I call your attention to, because it's very important. Okay, so let me actually check and see if anybody's answered that question. No, they seem to be concerned with whether Asians are short. Wonderful. Okay, so this is Quaternion again, and you'll notice something right off the bat. Namely, you know how the game used to lag at like 5 FPS, and like these balls would only move at like 5 FPS? And I would always blame that on Twitch being slow. Yeah, it turns out there was a reason for this the whole time, and I only just figured it out. I'll explain that. Actually, I'll explain that right now. So, in Torque is weird. Torque, Marble Blast especially, was originally designed to be multiplayer. Now, I don't know if you've ever played Marble Blast, but there's not originally a multiplayer mode. I mean, originally they were planning to have one, but in Gold, as it was originally released, there is no multiplayer to speak of. However, there are still plenty of remnants of multiplayer left in the game. Namely, when you start up a level, even if you're in single player, like you probably are, the game still has a client and a server. Now, of course, these both run on the same machine, but they still both exist and both communicate with each other. And so everything in the game, like your marble, this ball here, this level, this button, has two copies. One copy is kept on the server and one on the client. Now, the server side version is much more, what's the word I'm looking for? The server version of the object is sort of the canonical version. It's the version that, if you update the server version, it'll send that over to the client. If you update the client version, it won't send that to the server. The server version is like sort of where the objects actually are, but the client version is where they show up. Now, the problem is, so you'd think typically you would want to set properties on the server object, and usually you'd be right. The problem with that, and obviously when you access anything in the code, you're typically accessing it on the server, like mission group, for instance. If you open up a level file, at the beginning of every level file, you will notice new sim group, mission group. Mission group and all the hierarchy therein only exists on the server, not on the client. So, when you want to make changes to the level, etc., you want to do all that on the server. Usually. Here's the thing. The server is the server, when you update it, doesn't necessarily immediately send things to the client. That takes time. So there will be some amount of delay, some amount of lag between information getting updated on the server and information getting sent back to the client. And especially if you have to update a lot of objects, that's going to take a lot of time. So this is why when I'm in the level, you know, like when you push marbles and stuff around, like this big ball, when you push it, it's updating both the server object and the client object. It updates the server object to make sure everything's in sync with the server, but then it also forces the client object to update right away. It doesn't even tell it to update from the server, it just tells it, here's your new position, go. And so that is much more efficient then, and it would cause the client objects to move a lot more smoothly. I say would because up until, like, today, it didn't work. Up until today, as it turns out, these objects were only updating on the server side, which was then causing them to have to sync over to the client side, which would take a while, and thus these balls would only move at like 5 frames a second. So, what gives? And the answer to this is that if you have ever once thought that Marble Blast was programmed well, yeah, I'm just going to dispel that notion right now. Not to, you know, disrespect Garage Games. After all, without Garage Games, we wouldn't even have Marble Blast in the first place. But Marble Blast is a big indie game development project, and like most big indie game development projects, maybe I'm just biased from my experience with Jeff, a lot of the code is crappy. Like, it does hacky things, it's not designed well, etc., etc. And I'm not going to claim that I'm not guilty of this as well. Some of the stuff in Quaternian's code, like, there are definitely a few lines of code already where I have no idea why they have to be there. But I'm too scared to remove them and see what happens. So, what was I saying? So in terms of being poorly designed, fun fact, there is no simple way to get the client object corresponding to a given server object. Not in script, anyway. And to some degree, this does make sense. After all, because this is designed to be multiplayer, you don't necessarily know that those two objects are even on the same computer in the first place. Why would you want to be able to get one from the other? Rather, it would be better to just hide all of that in the client-server, framework, and have that, have the engine do all the heavy lifting for you. Problem is, for single player, there are cases where you really just need to have that synchronization. You really need to know which objects correspond to which. And thanks to the magical powers of engine hacking, by which I mean thanks to Hi Guy Jeff and all those guys, we have functions now that will do that. Except that the functions weren't working properly. By which I mean I was stupid with the way I implemented them, and what would happen is it would try to get the client object. And the first time it does this, the client object likely doesn't exist yet, at least not in a way that it can be found, so it just returns -1. The code, the script code that I wrote then says, okay, this object's sync ID is -1, and then it would never update that, like, ever again. For efficiency, it sticks to the last successful ID that it used rather than trying to get the ID every time, but it misinterpreted -1 as success, when in fact it means, no, this is a total failure, try again. So, yeah, about that. I've now fixed it, and as a result, you'll see everything moves much more smoothly. You guys might not even see it because it's on the stream, but, this is, 5 times as smooth as it was before. It feels so nice. Okay, I'll stop that now. That's creepy. So, I have no idea why this ball ended up over here, by the way. probably some other glitch. There are still glitches that I'll get to in a moment. But yeah, so that's one thing that I've improved that wasn't even on the docket for this week, but I just decided I wasn't going to handle it anymore. So... Is it this one that I need? Nope, it's this one. Yeah. Alright, so this is the new area of the level back here. We have this nice little spiral staircase thingy, which looks kind of cool. I might actually have this be animated in the final version, have it spin around. I think that would be really cool. This still doesn't go anywhere. Too bad, so sad. This, however... should look familiar to Lee especially. This here is the pain challenge. Now, the way this is going to work is you're going to have 2 spheres on these, and then you'll have to push them up some slopes and stuff. The reason why I don't have them there right now is because I don't want to have to complete this challenge in order to demonstrate it. Just going to tell you guys right now, this is, like, for a fact, I can tell it already, going to be one of the hardest challenges in the game. Yeah. To give you an example of why, let me just push this ball up this slope here. And as you can see, I'm like utterly failing at something that simple. I might actually change the physics on these balls a little bit to make this more tolerable, because there's basically no way to get that thing up the slope. Oh gosh, especially not up a slope of that slope. So yeah, so expect that to be changed, the physics, that is, not the challenge itself. Polarium says, oh please, no more pain levels. I will reassure you that this will be entirely optional. Like, you won't need to do this unless you're wanting to 100% the game. So, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting how much harder this is than pushing things in MBPU. I think it's because the physics is almost more realistic. Like, in MBPU, you can do this trick where you sort of jump behind it and, like, nudge it up, and you can't do that here. And, oh, it's going to fall. Now, it should automatically respawn. Except when it does, it flies away and, like, bounces and pisses off to who knows where. And so I have no idea what's wrong with that. I will look into that probably this week. No, definitely this week. And Lee, yes, if you want to change this part of the level, by all means, please go ahead. I would appreciate making it a little bit more playable. So yeah, so that respawning functionality is currently broken, but I will work on it. So let me push this ball onto here so that I can demonstrate what this thing actually does if you beat the puzzle. You have to put balls on both switches. This one and then that one over there that you can sort of see in the distance. So I'm going to push this ball onto this switch, and then I'm going to go on the other switch myself, which, as it turns out, you can totally do. Shortcut. I'm not sure whether I want to leave that shortcut in. Lee is wondering if I could put a trigger in the pain section of the level to make the balls easier to push. Lee, if I'm going to do that, I might as well just make the balls easier to push. Because, like, this whole level is about pushing balls. I want to make that easier to do. So I'll see what I can do. Maybe I'll be able to reduce their gravity. That seems to have worked in the past. So if you see right there in the distance, I just pointed at it with my finger, forgetting that what you can see is my screen. There is, in fact, an ion pack up there now. So, yeah. This is, of course, not going to be the only ion pack in the level. Far from it. Oh, gosh. Oh, gosh. So, Polarium just phrased the concept of this level in a very awkward way, and I love it. Remember, if you don't, I'll remind you, the reason for the ion pack being sort of grayed out like this is that I've already collected it, so I already found this ion pack. Yep. So that's the great news for this week, is that I have this part of the level implemented. It's working decently well, apart from the fact that it's, like, impossible. and I'll work on the other elements of it, bug fixes and whatnot. So, guys, I have a couple of pieces of bad news as well, and neither of these is too great a disappointment, but they're both things that I just want to make sure people know about. So, one of those is... Okay, so far the paradigm for these levels has been to make everything either a DTS... Well, make everything a DTS. So no diffs. People have been sending me diffs, and I've been converting them to DTS. And I've been making a horrible mistake in doing so. Because, yeah, this level takes like 30 seconds, if not more, to load. Lee, I can send you the pain map. I'll do that at some point. So yeah, this level takes... Oh! Oh! I did it! Woohoo! I totally sound like a girl. Okay. So... Sorry, I just... Ooh, I know what I'm going to do with this space. Yeah, anyway. So thus far I've been converting everything to, woohoo! Nice joke, hi guy. I've been converting everything to DTS, and I've been making a horrible mistake in doing so. Because DTSs are not meant to be used for, like, big, giant levels, and they do not load quickly. So, so this leads to the wonderful issue of levels taking 30 seconds to load, and there's absolutely nothing I can do about it. So what am I going to do, you ask? Well, that's simple. I'm not going to use as many DTSs. All the code I have for loading in DTSs, I'm not even using DTSs for the physics, just for display, so diffs should work just as well for most of it. So, my strategy going forward, then, is going to be this. For large parts of levels, I'll be using diffs. So, like, this level will probably just be several diffs. Now, obviously you have these details as well. Like, for instance, you have these tubes going across. These would not work as a diff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make these a DTS, but rather than making like one big DTS, which would take forever to load, I'm going to make DTSs for like each of these individual components, like this like bend will be a single DTS, and then just put a bunch of them together in the level editor. Which is going to be a lot of work, but honestly, it's going to work, and that's the important thing. I was hesitant about making this decision at first because I knew that it would add a significant amount of workload. Not necessarily, not just in the future. Like, in the future, it's not going to be that bad. I'll just have to remember to use diff. But the workload is taking the, like, 3 levels I've made already and converting them back to, not even converting them, because I don't think I have a way of doing that. Rather, completely remaking them in Constructor instead of Blender so that I can have them as diffs. And that's really unfortunate. It honestly is. It means that, like, you know, there are going to be some more days, if not weeks, if not months, hopefully not months, added onto the amount of time spent on this project. It means that the game is going to be released later than it otherwise would. However, I will give you the following quote from Shigeru Miyamoto. A delayed game is eventually good. A bad game is bad forever. I feel like I just wouldn't want to release Quaternion with, like, 2-minute loading times for each level that freeze the game. So, like I wouldn't be able to live with myself doing that. I would be able to live with myself, but so that's what I'm going to do henceforth. Is make things as diffs. And then just making sure Twitch is working all right. And so Lee is asking why I didn't want to use diffs in the first place. That's a really great question, and half of it I don't remember. I think there are a couple of reasons why I didn't want to use diffs at first. Number one is when you convert maps into diff files, sometimes the polygons get a little bit screwy, but then again, I'm converting the diffs to DTSs anyway, so that isn't really a concern anymore. Or rather, it's sort of inevitable anyway. I think there were two main reasons for wanting to use diffs, personally. Number one was, if I use diffs, then I can't have, like, crazy amounts of curves everywhere. However, the way Quaternion has gone so far, my style, like the style I've been using in these levels, doesn't really have crazy curves everywhere anyway. So, like this isn't Polysoup, okay? So, so that's not really a concern anymore. The other reason is that with DTS, I can, I can have it exported from Blender. I can't export diffs from Blender. But I need to have the diffs also as raw files, which I can only export from Blender. So I need to somehow be able to load a diff into Blender. However, fun fact, I actually have since achieved a way of doing that. Thanks to such folks as, I believe this was largely Matt P's work. I can convert diffs into DAE files and then load those in Blender and export those as .raw. So, long story short, the more I think about it, I really have no reason to not be using diffs at this point. So, I'm going to use diffs from now on. In addition to DTSs. Note that this won't be replacing DTSs. Levels will still have, like, cool curvy bits. Like, for instance, this little slide here, yeah, that's totally staying. I'll just make that a separate DTS and then put it as an object in the level. So yeah. So the disappointment involved there is the fact that the game will be probably delayed a little bit more than it otherwise would be, but the good news is it won't have horrible, like, incredibly bad loading times. So there's that. The other issue that I wanted to tell you guys about, this is actually something I just learned relatively recently. So this is also related to DTSs, incidentally. So I've been holding out on the Platinum team to have DTS shaders ready for me at some point in Quaternion development. For a while now, I've been counting on that. So I've apparently recently been informed that they may in fact be scrapping DTS shaders. This is disappointing for me because I had really been looking forward to being able to make use of those. However, it's not a huge deal. By which I mean, what you're currently seeing in-game is not DTS shaders. It's post-processing shaders done using Reshade. Two things. Number one, I think these look good enough. Like, they're not what I had hoped for, but I feel like these graphics already look pretty freaking good for a mod of a game that came out in 2002. So, like, I'm not sure how content I would be releasing the game with these graphics, but that brings me to my other point as well, namely that the Platinum team has already created working post-processing shaders using engine hacks, and I will still be able to use those. The advantage of using those after reshade is, like, for instance, if you take a look, you notice that the shaders are affecting the GUI. Like, you can see, like, the edge of the platform here and the whole thing is glowing. Yeah, I'll be able to actually have control over that and make it not do that. So, so it's not going to be a big deal. There are a couple of things that I was hoping I would be able to do using DTS shaders that I will no longer be able to do, but I don't see these as a giant issue. I'll just have to make convenient artistic decisions that turn out to, like, be easier to do in shaders. Also, fun fact, I just realized a way I can trap myself. Boom. Now I can't get back to that area ever again. Well, I could restart the level. So yeah, so what's on the docket for this week? Well, ideally, this week's primary goal should be completing more of this level, just as it always has been this month. However, I think there's going to be a slight change of plans. Namely, there have been some bugs in this game that have been sort of outstanding for a while. And I mean that in the sense not of, ooh, outstanding! No, I mean, like, they've been bugging me. No, oh gosh, I did not intend that pun. But they've been annoying, so what I'm going to attempt to do then is my primary goal for this next week is going to be just trying to get those bugs fixed so that the game will, in fact, work more smoothly and be better. Namely, there are 3 things I want to make sure I focus on this week. Number 1 is the fact that when these balls respawn, they, like, fly everywhere. I'll definitely make sure to fix that. Number 2, there are still significant physics bugs where, like, you can do edge hits off the insides of platforms and whatnot. I'm going to try to work on those, see if I can maybe iron those out a bit, if at all possible. I know I'm going to need Hi Guy's help on that. Oh yes, before I forget, 3Folder has, with the whole converting to diff thing that I mentioned earlier, 3Folder has very graciously agreed to help me out a little bit with some of that. So 3Folder, thank you so much. I just figured I'd give you a shout out because, you know, I don't think 3Folder's actually watching, but he'll see this at some point, possibly. Tell 3Folder I said hi, I guess. Another issue I want to try to fix is with moving platforms. This is a little bit hard to see, but when you go on a moving platform, things break. Like, your movement becomes jittery, and it doesn't actually simulate the physics properly. Now, I'm not quite sure why this is, because I think I'm mostly following what people tell you to do on the Bullet Physics forum in order to fix this issue, but I will definitely be sure to work on it regardless. See if there isn't something I can do about that. So, that's all the news I have for you at this minute. If you have anything else to say, any questions or comments or what have you, the chat is open. Go ahead and ask. Threefolder apparently says hi to me. Wonderful. Oh, this is also a thing I should fix at some point. Ready, guys? Whee! What I'd love to be able to have is I'd love for it to be able to detect that you're about to get pushed into a platform and explode your marble instead. That would be really cool. I actually already have like a marble explosion animation. I'm not sure if you've seen it. Lee has asked me a question that I don't even want to repeat. However, I guess I'll answer it. I mean, it is kind of annoying when that happens. Because, like, I don't know, I don't have that happen too often for some reason. Huh. I'm trying to figure out if there's a function I'm supposed to be using to... Hold on, there's probably one in here somewhere. I'm seeing I'm getting a message on Skype, so one quick second here. Oh yeah! Hi Guy has just given me an update that one of the things I'm making use of in the in Reshade is the depth buffer, and that wasn't something that that wasn't something that they had implemented in the shader engine for the Platinum Team's shader engine. So I actually explode marble. There's the function. So I actually just got word from Hi Guy that they have now included that. There we go. Lee is asking me to do the world record path for learning to roll MBG. And I'm going to say no to that because I'm not sure if I know what the world record path is. I apologize for my ignorance. Oh, also guys, be aware that I'm currently showing the Twitch chat on the stream, so anything you say in Twitch chat will be visible on the screen, or on the stream. I guess I probably should have said that earlier. Polarium is showing me the world record path on YouTube, but I don't want to open a YouTube link right now. Come on. Ooh, sexy mode activated. Hey guy, the fact that that copy pasta has a chorus in it, like, I don't know about you, but I automatically, like, imagine a gospel choir singing it, and that is a hilarious mental image. Just, like, you've got it, like, somebody has to make, like, a gospel choir arrangement of that text, or a setting, rather, would be the term, of that text, because that would just be hilarious. Oh, one other thing. I guess I'm sort of, one moment, I'm gonna try something. My game appears to be lagging, and I'm wondering if this is just due to streaming or an actual memory leak. We'll see if after I turn the stream off, it's, like, fixed. But no worries. I will. I can look into that this week if it is an actual leak. Anybody have any other questions? Oh, I was going to say, it's technically tomorrow, but what the heck? Happy Easter. I will not sing pizzazz for you. Jeff, I apologize. Hi, Guy, I do not apologize at all. So, I think I'm gonna leave it there then. Unless anyone has major objections. So to everybody, I will say thank you so much for tuning in. I'm looking forward to this week because it'll mean getting some of the really ugly stuff out of the way. And after that, I'll be back to developing Quaternion, and in particular, this Balls level, which is looking pretty great so far, and I can't wait to incorporate more stuff into it as well. So, yeah. To everybody who tuned in, thank you for watching. To everybody else, hi. And, yeah. So... goodbye, everybody. I'll see you all next week.